The month of June is here, and there is a lot of new games to invest your time into. Considering we've only included single-player and offline games on the channel for the past 3 months, today I'm going to be showing you only the top tier stuff. And for that matter, here's our list of top 20 AAA new mobile games to play right now. First things first, let's talk about Solo Leveling Arise, which you have probably seen a lot lately. See, today's list is about AAA, and Solo Leveling Arise is nothing short of that. It's a 4 GB big action RPG and the latest popular game in its own kind based off of its anime, offering a good storytelling and a decent battle system too. Now, of course this is not a game for everybody, not because of the size, but also because of its strategic pace and nature. Game is hard. Stunning graphics, just a few hiccups here and there. Coming in at seconds, maybe not the best choice of game to put at number 2, but it's a big but. Super Dragon Punch Force 3 is an alpha, and the online play seems a little bit unstable at the moment. It's sitting on the Play Store with a 3.5 and the Apple Store with a 5 out of 5. You be the judge of that. This is a super graphically advanced mobile fighting game near to something as big as the latest Guilty Gear, and it's free. Developers have been coming up with rapid patches to make it stable.
They are the enemies of human civilizations.
Number 3, we have Wuthering Waves. Reason this game's at number 3 is simply this is actually the number 3 rated most grossing action mobile game of 2024 on Android. Awarded, rated, and highly regarded as one of the best action RPGs released recently. To be perfectly honest, fair, Wuthering Wave has only one problem. It's a laggy game on low-end devices. It's definitely a neck and head above the Genshin Impact in combat, smoothness, and overall pace, incredible graphics, good story too.
Or the rule-breaking Black Lab!
Now, Rover, the story is yours to spin.
テレビアニメ「千の奇跡ノーザンウォー」が
Trails of Cold Steel, The Northern War, is now available globally for mobiles and PCs since 12 hours ago. And I had no idea this was actually so famous in the West. This game has been downloaded nearly 500,000 times on the Play Store only, excluding the iOS and PC version. This is legit one of the best cross-platform games ever made by Falcom. It is actually set between the Trails of Cold Steel 2 and 3 and is generously rewarding. It's not every day we get an offline mobile game, and we certainly didn't have our hands on Frontline Heroes today. This beast of a game has been around for months, but it was only days ago when developers decided to make it globally offline and even release a final patch for it. The patch actually came out yesterday and fixed some accuracy problems. Anyway, it's a World War almost Call of Duty inspired tactical shooter offering really advanced graphics and almost infinite missions. Speaking of infinite replay value, well, Touch Grind X, I don't really know how long it's been since we had its first rumor, possibly over 2 years ago, but it finally made it over to the Play Store and did it like no other game in the list. This is a single player and a 12-player multiplayer mountain bike racing game with insane physics and graphics, in addition to several modes to play to keep it fresh. If you like extreme biking, you're probably not gonna go any further than this right now. If you've been around on the channel long enough, well, technically, we haven't talked about a single online game for a quarter of the year right now. And most of all, idle RPGs. Meet Revenger Saga. We'd like to give this epic game a special recommendation as it is the best we've played yet. It's the new work of the famous developers of Archer Cat games and a very satisfying combination of story-driven RPGs and AFK. 10 out of 10, highly recommended, very addictive game. Number 8. We've got another construction sim game. You probably know what this is all about, besides the fact that it's a $5 game. Well, technically speaking, this is our one and only paid game in the list today, but this time you're in Canada. I mean, that's gotta be something, right? It's not only that, Construction Sim 4 offers 2 open world maps in the US and Europe. There's over 70 licensed machines and a realistic design to go with it. This whole thing is just 2 GB in total, I don't get it. It plays with a controller and entirely offline. Now, this is a rare thing to happen we come across, but whatever you see in the trailer over here, you will see in the game too. Dawn of Ages has an identical gameplay compared to the trailer over here, and it's one hell of a surprise after you play it. A couple of days ago, when it was released, there was some login issues, but it is now fixed, and you're pretty good to go anywhere you are. It's a strategy war game with optional ads, and you can then repeat multiple times if you want. Super addictive gaming pace. Coming in at number 10, we have LEGO Hill Climb Adventures. I've actually wanted to include this one in my last video, but it wasn't pre-registered, then it's still unavailable for most players. Now, try it on the Play Store or iOS, doesn't matter, it's a free game all along, offering a neatly satisfying driving physics, stunt performing, missions, and just tons of gadgets and upgradable components for your vehicles. LEGO Hill Climb is ranked as the number 7 best racing game of the year right now. After a whole month of tease, American survival anime RPG is now available on Android and iOS. First things first, it's a new work of the famous developers who made Wasteland Survival. This game is a lot like Palworld, meaning it's an RPG collectible game with survival mechanics. Not to mention, it's actually set in open world with a touch of storytelling and task delivering pace. It's an online game though, it's free, takes you about 500 megabytes in total. Speaking of underrated gems, well, Devil May Cry Peak of Combat, which we've mentioned over 3 months ago, went on and made its global debut and a final patch with an overhauled gameplay and additional heroes to summon. I would say there is not a better game in the list that could potentially give you a near satisfaction if you like hack and slashing. It's just a smooth game with a very action-packed system, stellar graphics, and a good amount of grind too. How about a sports game? Who likes sports games? Cause we have a 2K24 NBA game in the list. Now, downloaded nearly 5 freaking million times in less than a week. Actually, the number 7 most well-received sports game of the year, so to speak. NBA 2K here lets you play, earn, and put together your team with infinite possibilities. It's a single player and also 3 versus 3 and 5 versus 5 multiplayer game, and lets you even authenticate with your Xbox and PlayStation account to enable cross progression and various modes as well. To get this thing over with as soon as possible, the famous Russian developers Moab just actually came up with another new game which happens to be playable offline too, going by the name Europefront Remastered. We have actually mentioned this game before. These developers' specialty isn't just driving games. There's a couple of open world games they've made, but Europefront is a pretty decent FPS just the same. It's actually a improved and re-released version of a 3-year-old mobile game, now on Android, for free, and it's entirely 1 GB in total. If you are craving MMORPGs, we've got over here Wandering Swordius that you can try. It's a online, of course, open world martial arts based action RPG. It's a PvPvE, and as all MMO games do, it features different styles of fighting, a character development system, obviously to let the player improve their skills, abilities, as well as acquire new weapons and armor. It has guild battles, boss battles, cross-server battles, and of course tournaments. It's a good game, I like the graphics, it's both on the Google and the App Store, it's about 1.5 GB in total. Now look guys, available on all stores with above 4.5 out of 5 ratings, number 16, we have Imperial Era Resurgence. This is just CGI, but the main game is just no different, if not even better than what you see. It's a real-time or you could say real-life sim for that matter. Possibly the most underrated game of today's list. It offers large to small scale battles and a very balanced gameplay. You get to choose one of 3 different factions, start small, thrive, grow with allies, unite against other enemies, and eventually win them all. If you're already familiar with the Buckshot Duel or Buckshot Roulette, there's a few of them on mobiles, and I've already mentioned a few that are offline. However, if you want real players to play against online with some new aspects and a somewhat more polished design, it's not that scary anymore, so to speak, as well, you can go ahead and try this one. This is an online game literally downloaded over 1 million times in less than a month and takes you roughly 300 megabytes in total. That's it. Coming to iOS, July 17 this year, but already in pre-register on the Play Store. Number 18, we have Draconia Saga. Well, Tales of Dragonland, Legend of Cariz, Cariz Online, and now finally the game's title to this, Draconia Saga. It's over a year-old Japanese original RPG adventure creature collecting game that's inspired by the Ragnarok Onlines, but is fully 3D and uses the same usual gathering resources as farming, fishing, and cooking formula. It's a free game of 4 gigabytes in total. Five Nights at Maggie 3. It has been a year, over a year, but it's finally here. The FNAF franchise, I would say, is a perfect go-to game if you have already played all the FNAF games. Now, or if you couldn't afford the premium versions of them. Five Nights at Maggie 3 is an offline game just the same, and it's free too. This time, once again, bringing back Maggie and some new friends that will be joining the stage. This is a strategic horror suspense game. Well, definitely right up there in quality with FNAF games. It's available on Androids only. And last but not least, since, like I've said, it's been months since we talked about any idle RPG, here's another one to add to your list if you, for some reason, didn't like the number 7 game in the list. Well, Rumble Squad is a streamlined adventure with a simple pace and quite challenging to master. This is a free game just the same, about 400 megabytes in size, and sitting on both the Google and the App Store since last week. Play this one if you actually do like dungeon crawling role-playing games.